Another failed business attempt, Dad said, standing in the middle of Times Square, shopping bags in both hands. How many is that now? For 5. Mom adjusted her sunglasses, looking up at the towering digital billboards. When will she give up and get a real job? She's 31 years old. My sister Gabrielle laughed. At least I have a stable career. I stood 3 feet away, coffee cup in hand, saying nothing. The billboard directly above us flickered. A massive image appeared, my face 50 feet tall. The text beneath read, Forbes 100 Most Powerful Women. Natalie Hayes, 31, the fintech revolutionary changing global finance. Mom's shopping bags hit the pavement. Designer boxes spilled across the sidewalk. Dad's mouth fell open. Gabrielle's face went white. Gabrielle had always been the success story. I learned this at age 10 when she won the regional spelling bee. She was 13, I was 10. Mom threw a celebration party. Invited 20 people. Gabrielle got a trophy cake and a $500 check for academic excellence. That same month, I'd built a working model of a solar-powered water filtration system for the science fair. Took first place in the state competition, beating students 3 years older. That's wonderful, honey, Mom said when I showed her the ribbon. She was on the phone coordinating Gabrielle's tutoring schedule. Put it on the fridge. The ribbon stayed on the fridge for 2 weeks before disappearing. Gabrielle's spelling bee trophy sat on the mantle for 8 years. At 14, I asked Dad if I could take an entrepreneurship summer program. The local university offered a 4-week course teaching basic business principles, budgeting, and startup fundamentals. Cost, $800. $800 for a summer camp? Dad frowned. That's excessive. What's wrong with getting a regular summer job? This would teach me business skills. Natalie, you're 14. You don't need business skills. You need to focus on your grades. That same summer, Dad paid $3,200 for Gabrielle to attend a leadership development retreat in Colorado. He came back with a certificate and stories about trust falls. I got a job at a local ice cream shop. Worked 30 hours a week at minimum wage. But I learned something valuable. I was good with money. By the end of summer, I'd saved $1,400. I'd also noticed the shop's inventory system was a disaster. They over-ordered supplies, threw away expired products, never tracked which flavors sold best. I built a simple spreadsheet system on my manager's computer. Color-coded inventory tracking, sales patterns, reorder alerts. Within 2 months, waste dropped by 43%. The manager gave me a $1 per hour raise. That's initiative, she said. You think like a business owner. 17, Gabrielle got into Stanford. Full tuition, $65,000 per year. We're so proud, Mom told everyone at the graduation party. Stanford. Can you imagine? I got into state on a partial academic scholarship. The remainder, $12,000 annually. Can you help with the difference? I asked Dad. We're stretched thin with Gabrielle's tuition. State is affordable, you'll be fine with loans. I took out loans. Worked 25 hours a week at 2 jobs. Lived in the cheapest housing option, ate ramen 4 nights a week. Gabrielle got a car for her 18th birthday. A used Lexus, $23,000. You need reliable transportation at Stanford, Dad said. I got a $50 gift card to Target for mine. Nobody noticed the disparity. Or if they did, they didn't mention it. By 19, I'd stopped expecting equity. I understood the family structure. Gabrielle was the investment. I was the afterthought. So I invested in myself. At 20, I launched my first business. A mobile app connecting college students with local part-time work opportunities. Built it with $800 from my ice cream shop savings and free coding tutorials from YouTube. The app gained 3,400 users in 6 months. Local businesses loved it. Instant access to reliable student workers. Students loved it. Flexible jobs that worked around class schedules. I mentioned it at Thanksgiving dinner. That's nice, Mom said, not looking up from her phone where she was texting Gabrielle about spring break plans. Is it making money? A little. I charge businesses $50 per month for premium listings. So like a hobby, Dad said. It's generating $2,800 monthly revenue. Oh. He looked mildly interested for 3 seconds. Then, Gabrielle, tell everyone about your Stanford internship offer. The conversation shifted. My app failed after 18 months. A competitor with actual funding launched a better version. I shut down operations, learned hard lessons about market timing and capitalization. Told you, Dad said when I mentioned it. These startup things rarely work. Maybe focus on finishing your degree. At 22, I launched a second business, an online marketplace for students to buy and sell textbooks directly to each other. No middleman, better prices than campus bookstores. It grew to 12 college campuses. Revenue hit $40,000 in year one. Then Amazon expanded into textbook rentals and crushed us. I shut down after 15 months. Another failure, Mom said. Not cruelly, just stating a fact. Maybe entrepreneurship isn't your path. At 24, I launched my third business, a financial literacy app teaching people basic money management through gamification and challenges. We got 15,000 users. Revenue reached $95,000 annually through premium subscriptions. Then a major bank launched a free competitor with a massive marketing budget. We couldn't compete. Shut down after 2 years. 3 failed businesses, Gabrielle mentioned at a family dinner. She was visiting from her consulting job in San Francisco where she made $180,000 annually. Maybe it's time to try something else? I'm learning from each one. Or you're not learning the right lessons, Dad said. 3 failures is a pattern, Natalie. Maybe you're not cut out for this. What they didn't know, each failure had taught me something invaluable. The college work app taught me about marketplace dynamics and network effects. The textbook marketplace taught me about competition and the importance of defensible market position. The financial literacy app taught me about user acquisition, retention, and monetization. But more importantly, it taught me about a massive gap in the market. People needed financial tools. Real tools. Not games or basic budgeting apps. Sophisticated technology that could actually help them manage money, invest wisely, understand their financial health. At 26, I launched PayForward, a fintech platform that combined banking, investing, financial planning, and AI-powered money coaching in one seamless experience. I put in my last $12,000. Lived on credit cards. Slept 4 hours a night for 8 months while building the prototype. I pitched 63 venture capital firms. 62 said no. The 63rd, a small firm called Momentum Ventures, said yes. $2.5 million seed funding for 18% equity. I never mentioned it to my family. Why bother? They just call it another doomed attempt. At 27, PayForward had 40,000 users and $3 million in revenue. At 28, we raised Series B, $45 million at a $180 million valuation. I own 67%. At 29, major banks started noticing. We weren't just an app, we were infrastructure. Our AI could predict financial problems before they happened, prevent overdrafts, optimize investments, identify fraud. Revenue hit $85 million. User base reached 2.8 million people. At 30, Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan both approached about partnership deals. We signed with both. PayForward became the back-end technology for their consumer banking apps. Revenue exploded to $340 million annually. Valuation hit $3.2 billion. My 67% stake made me worth $2.1 billion on paper. At 31, 2 weeks ago, Forbes named me to their 100 most powerful women list. The profile called me the fintech revolutionary changing how 8 million people manage money. They scheduled a digital billboard campaign in Times Square for today. My family knew none of this. To them, I'd failed 3 times and was probably working on another doomed startup. I hadn't corrected them. There was no point. The New York trip was Mom's idea. Family weekend, she'd announced 3 weeks ago. Just the 4 of us. Shopping shows, nice dinners. Quality time. I'd almost said no. But something made me agree. Maybe curiosity. Maybe a small, stubborn hope that they might actually want to spend time with me. We'd arrived Friday evening. Stayed at a hotel in Midtown. Separate rooms, Mom and Dad paid for theirs and Gabrielle's. I paid for my own. Saturday was shopping. Fifth Avenue designer stores, the kind of places that made my student loan debt feel heavier even though I'd paid it off 2 years ago. Mom and Gabrielle tried on clothes at Bergdorf Goodman. Dad and I waited in the sitting area. How's work? He asked. The way you'd ask a stranger at a bus stop. Good. Busy. Still doing the app thing? Yes. Making any money yet? Enough. He nodded, already losing interest. Pulled out his phone to check email. Gabrielle emerged in a $2,400 dress. What do you think? Beautiful, Mom said. Get it. Early Christmas present. They bought the dress. Plus shoes. Plus a handbag. Total, $4,800. I bought nothing. When Mom asked if I wanted to try anything on, I said I was fine. Still budget conscious, she said to Gabrielle. Old habits from her student loan days. I'd paid off $48,000 in student loans by age 27. Gabrielle had zero debt. Mom and Dad paid her Stanford tuition in full. But sure. Old habits. Saturday evening was dinner at a restaurant where the appetizers cost $35. Conversation focused entirely on Gabrielle's consulting career, her apartment in Pacific Heights, her boyfriend who worked at Google. He's taking me to Cabo next month, Gabrielle said. 5-star resort, all-inclusive. That's wonderful, Mom beamed. You're doing so well. Nobody asked about my life beyond, how's your apartment? Fine. And dating anyone? No time. Sunday morning we walked through Times Square on the way to brunch. Tourist crowds everywhere. Giant digital billboards rotating advertisements. Coca-Cola, Samsung, Broadway shows. This area is such a circus, Dad muttered, dodging a family taking photos. Mom checked her shopping bags. I still can't believe we found those shoes. 60% off. Gabrielle was scrolling on her phone. Oh, my coworker just texted. She got promoted to senior manager. That's the level I'm targeting next year. You'll get there, Mom said. You're on the partner track. We stopped at a crosswalk. Times Square spread out in every direction. Screens, lights, tourists, chaos. Natalie, what are you working on now? Gabrielle asked. Her tone suggested mild curiosity mixed with expectation of disappointment. A fintech platform. Another app? Dad sighed. After the last 3 failed? I'm still developing it. How long this time? Mom asked. The last one took 2 years before you gave up. I didn't give up. It wasn't viable. That's giving up, Dad said. He gestured at the billboards around us. Look at all this. Real businesses. Established brands. Maybe it's time to aim for stability instead of chasing this startup fantasy. Another failed business attempt, he continued, louder now, competing with street noise. How many is that now? 5. 3 businesses that didn't work out. This is the 4th. Mom adjusted her sunglasses, looking up at the screens. When will she give up and get a real job? She's 31 years old. At least I have a stable career, Gabrielle said. McKinsey values consistency and proven results. I stood there, coffee cup halfway to my lips, saying nothing. Then I saw it. The massive billboard directly above us flickered. The Samsung ad disappeared. My face appeared. Professional photo from the Forbes shoot, 50 feet tall on the digital screen. The text was enormous, impossible to miss. Forbes 100 Most Powerful Women. Natalie Hayes, 31. The fintech revolutionary changing global finance. Below that, smaller text. Pay forward. 8M users, $3.2 billion valuation, partnerships with Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. The image cycled. Photos of me speaking at conferences, meeting with world leaders, standing in PayForward's office. Mom's shopping bags slipped from her hands. Expensive boxes tumbled across the sidewalk. A shoe box opened, one designer heel rolling toward a trash can. Dad's mouth fell open. Actually fell open. His jaw went slack, eyes wide, frozen mid-step. Gabrielle's face drained of color. She looked at the billboard, then at me, then back at the billboard. Her phone slipped from her fingers and clattered on the pavement. What they couldn't see from the billboard. 3 months ago I'd sat in a conference room at the Federal Reserve. Across the mahogany table, the chair of the Federal Reserve, the Treasury Secretary, and 4 senior policy advisors. Ms. Hayes, the Fed chair said, PayForward's AI has identified patterns in consumer financial behavior that our traditional monitoring systems missed. Your technology predicted 3 regional banking crises 6 months before they manifested. The AI tracks microeconomic indicators, spending patterns, savings rates, debt accumulation across demographics. When we see specific combinations of factors, we can predict systemic problems. The Treasury Department wants to license your monitoring technology, the secretary said. We're prepared to offer a 3-year contract. $180 million for access to your economic prediction algorithms. I'll need my legal team to review the terms. Of course. But Ms. Hayes, this is critical infrastructure for national economic stability. Your work isn't just profitable, it's essential. I'd signed the contract 4 weeks later. $180 million over 3 years, plus ongoing advisory role. 2 months ago, I'd appeared on the cover of Fortune magazine. The headline, "The 31-year-old who made banking human." The article detailed PayForward's growth, from my $12,000 investment to a $3.2 billion valuation. It explained how our AI prevented financial disasters for 8M users, saved them an average of $3,400 annually, helped them build wealth they'd never imagined possible. It mentioned my 3 failed businesses and called them essential learning experiences that created one of the most important fintech innovations of the decade. It quoted the CEO of Goldman Sachs, "Natalie Hayes built something we couldn't. Her technology sees financial problems humans miss. Partnering with PayForward was the smartest decision we made." 6 weeks ago, the United Nations invited me to speak at a conference on global financial inclusion. My talk was titled, "Technology as Financial Justice." I spoke about growing up watching my family invest in my sister while I took loans. About working 2 jobs while building businesses that failed. About learning that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's the foundation. Every business that didn't work taught me something essential, I'd said. The work app taught me markets. The textbook platform taught me competition. The financial literacy app taught me what people actually needed. Without those 3 failures, PayForward wouldn't exist. The speech went viral. 4.2 million views on YouTube. Articles in dozens of publications. 4 weeks ago, Forbes announced their 100 Most Powerful Women list. I was number 47, the youngest person on the list. They'd scheduled a digital advertising campaign across multiple cities. The Times Square billboard was the centerpiece, running every 20 minutes from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. today. I'd known my family would be in Times Square this morning. Mom had sent the itinerary 3 weeks ago. Sunday, 10:30 a.m., walk through Times Square, brunch at Carmine's at 11:30. The timing wasn't accidental. The billboard stayed up for 90 seconds. Long enough for a crowd to gather. Tourists started taking photos. Of the screen, then of me when they realized I was standing right there. "Oh my God," a woman said, pointing. "That's her. That's the woman from the billboard. Natalie Hayes," someone else read aloud from their phone. "Forbes 100 Most Powerful Women. Holy shit, she's right here." Mom bent down to collect her shopping bags with shaking hands. The designer shoe was scuffed from rolling across the pavement. Dad hadn't moved. He stood frozen, staring up at the screen even though it had cycled to a new ad. Gabrielle picked up her phone. Her hands were trembling. "Natalie." Mom's voice was barely audible. "What is that?" "Forbes feature. It ran last week." "You're on Forbes' Most Powerful Women list?" "Yes." "And that company, PayForward, that's yours?" "Yes." A man in an expensive suit pushed through the crowd. I recognized him. David Chin, VP of Consumer Banking at JP Morgan. We'd met 4 times over the past year finalizing our partnership deal. "Miss Hayes." He extended his hand. "I didn't know you were in New York. I wanted to personally thank you again for the partnership. PayForward's integration with our systems has exceeded every projection. Customer satisfaction is up 67%. Account retention increased 43%. Your technology is remarkable." "Thank you, David. If you have time this week, Arcio would love to take you to dinner. He wants to discuss expanding the partnership. Have your assistant call mine. We'll schedule something." David nodded and walked away, already on his phone. Dad found his voice. "That was," he said, "JP Morgan. You're working with JP Morgan. PayForward partners with them, yes. And Goldman Sachs." "Goldman Sachs," Dad repeated faintly. Gabrielle was scrolling frantically on her phone. "This article, Fortune magazine, it says your company is valued at $3.2 billion. That was last quarter's valuation. It's probably higher now. And you own 67%? "Yes." Her face went gray. That makes you worth about $2.1 billion, I said quietly. Before taxes. Mom made a sound. Not a word. Just a small choked noise. Another woman approached. Older, confident, carrying a leather portfolio. Excuse me. Are you Natalie Hayes? Yes. Patricia Morrison, senior editor at the Wall Street Journal. I've been trying to reach your PR team for weeks. We're doing a profile on the top 10 fintech innovators reshaping global finance. You're number 2 on our list. Would you be willing to sit for an interview? My team handles all media requests. Contact them through the PayForward website. Of course. Thank you. She handed me a card and disappeared into the crowd. Gabrielle's voice was hollow. Number 2. You're number 2 on the Wall Street Journal's list of fintech innovators. The list isn't public yet. How does she know about it? Industry preview, I said. They leak it to key people before publication. A teenager with his family stopped next to us. Mom, look. That's the PayForward lady. We use that app. His mother pulled out her phone. Oh my goodness, you're right. Miss Hayes, my whole family uses PayForward. Your AI saved us from overdrafting twice this month. And the investment recommendations helped us start a college fund. Thank you so much. I'm glad it's helping. They asked for a photo. I obliged. 3 more tourists overheard and asked for photos too. Dad watched this happen, his expression cycling through confusion, shock, and something that looked like horror. When the crowd dispersed slightly, he spoke. You're famous. In certain circles, yes. You're on Times Square billboards. Forbes paid for the advertising campaign. You're worth $2 billion. Approximately. Mom sat down on a bench. Just sat hard like her legs had stopped working. I don't understand. When did this happen? I started PayForward 5 years ago. It took off 3 years ago. 3 years. Her voice rose. You've been running a billion-dollar company for 3 years and never told us? You never asked. That's not fair. Isn't it? Kept my voice level. I mentioned PayForward at Thanksgiving 2 years ago. Dad called it another startup fantasy. I mentioned signing major clients last Christmas. Mom asked if I could afford rent. I mentioned speaking at conferences 6 months ago. Gabrielle asked if I was still doing the app thing. Silence. Every time I shared anything about my work, you dismissed it. Called it failed. Said I should get a real job. So I stopped sharing. Gabrielle's phone buzzed. She looked at it and her face went pale. It's my boss. He just texted asking if you're my sister. Someone from Goldman's tech team mentioned they're partnering with PayForward and the founder's last name is Hayes. What did you tell him? I haven't responded yet. She looked sick. He's going to ask why I never mentioned it. A black SUV pulled up to the curb. My driver James stepped out. Miss Hayes, I saw the crowd gathering. I thought you might need an exit. Thank you, James. He opened the door. I started to move toward it. Wait. Mom stood up. You're leaving. We had brunch plans at 11:30. It's 11:45. I'm going to my hotel. But we need to talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. Natalie, please. Dad's voice cracked. You're our daughter. We deserve an explanation. You deserve an explanation? I turned to face him fully for the first time. I spent 20 years being the afterthought. The one who didn't matter. You paid $240,000 for Gabrielle's Stanford education and told me to take loans for state. You gave her a $23,000 car and gave me a Target gift card. You invested in her every single day and told me my dreams were fantasies. We didn't know. You didn't want to know. There's a difference. Mom was crying. We made mistakes. We're sorry. I'm sure you are. But sorry doesn't erase 20 years. I got in the SUV. James closed the door. Through the tinted window, I watched my family standing on the sidewalk. Mom crying, Dad looking lost, Gabrielle staring at her phone. The SUV pulled away. The immediate consequences started within the hour. My phone exploded with notifications. Texts, calls, voicemails. Mom, please call us. We need to talk. Dad, Natalie, we can explain. Please give us a chance. Gabrielle, my boss wants to meet you. He thinks my family connection to PayForward is valuable. Can we talk? I turned my phone to do not disturb. The escalating consequences arrived over the next 48 hours. Monday morning, Gabrielle called 6 times. I finally answered. Natalie. Please. My boss is asking questions. What kind of questions? Why I never mentioned my sister runs PayForward. Why I didn't facilitate an introduction when McKinsey was looking for fintech partnerships. He thinks I lack strategic thinking because I failed to leverage a key family relationship. That's not my problem. He's reconsidering my promotion track. This could hurt my career. Gabrielle, I built this career with zero help from our family. You build yours the same way. That's cruel. That's consistent. She hung up. Monday afternoon, Dad called. Natalie, I need to tell you something. I'm listening. My partners at the firm found out about you. They're asking why I never mentioned having a daughter in fintech. We invest in tech companies. Your expertise would have been valuable for due diligence. And they're questioning my judgment. One partner said if I couldn't recognize my own daughter's success, how can I evaluate other companies effectively? His voice was strained. I'm losing credibility. That's unfortunate. Can you help? Maybe meet with them? Explain that we had a complicated relationship. No. Natalie, please. My reputation. Your reputation is your responsibility. Mine was built without you. Keep them separate. I hung up. The final consequences crystallized over the following week. Tuesday, Mom called. She was crying before she spoke. Your Aunt Margaret saw the Forbes article. He called everyone. Now the whole family knows. Okay. They're asking why we never told them. Why we let them think you were struggling. Your cousin Jennifer invested in a failed startup last year and lost $50,000. She's furious we didn't connect her with you for advice. I wasn't available for family business consultations. They think we deliberately hid your success. That we're either ashamed or, she choked on the words, or that we were terrible parents who didn't even know our own daughter. Which is closer to the truth? Silence. Then more crying. Thursday, Gabrielle texted. McKinsey pulled my promotion. They said I need to demonstrate better awareness of valuable relationships and strategic opportunities. This is your fault. I didn't respond. Friday, a package arrived at my office. Inside, a handwritten letter from Dad. Natalie, I've spent this week thinking about everything. You're right. We failed you. Completely and utterly. We invested in Gabrielle because she was safe. Traditional success, clear paths, familiar achievements. You were risky. Startups, failures, unconventional choices. We didn't understand, so we dismissed. That's unforgivable. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for a relationship. I'm just asking you to know that I see it now. I see what we did. I see what we lost. We lost you. And we did it to ourselves. I'm sorry doesn't begin to cover it. But I'm sorry. That. I read it twice. Put it in my desk drawer. Didn't respond. 3 weeks later, I sat in PayForward's conference room. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lower Manhattan, the Hudson River stretching north toward where my family lived. Mycio knocked. Natalie, your mother is here. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's important. I considered saying no. But curiosity won. Send her in. Mom looked older. Tired. Her designer clothes seemed wrong somehow, like a costume that no longer fit. Thank you for seeing me, she said. You have 15 minutes. She sat across from me. I won't waste time with excuses. We failed you. Your father and I. We chose Gabrielle over you every single day for 20 years. I waited. I've spent 3 weeks thinking about why. Gabrielle was easy to support. Her success was conventional, measurable, something I understood. You were complicated. You tried things that failed. You wanted things I couldn't comprehend. So instead of trying to understand, I dismissed you. Okay. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect a relationship. I just needed you to hear this from me in person. I'm sorry. I'm sorrier than I have words for. And I'm proud of you. So incredibly proud. Not because you're wealthy or famous, but because you did this completely alone. You built something extraordinary while we told you to give up. Her voice broke. You're remarkable. And we missed it entirely. I took a breath. I appreciate you saying that. But it doesn't erase 20 years. It doesn't give me back the family I should have had. The support, the belief, the basic acknowledgement that I mattered. I know. I'm not interested in being your daughter now that it's convenient. Now that telling people about me benefits you socially. That's not why I'm here. Isn't it? Gabrielle's promotion got blocked because she couldn't leverage our family relationship. Dad's losing credibility because his partners think he lacks judgment. And now you're here 3 weeks later apologizing. Mom flinched but didn't argue. You're right. The timing is suspect. But the apology is real. Maybe. But I need something you can't give me. What? Time. Years of time where you're not trying to benefit from knowing me. Where you're not asking for introductions or business advice or using my success to rehabilitate your reputation. I need to know you want a relationship with your daughter, not with the Forbes list honoree. How do I prove that? Distance. Space. Years of demonstrating that you can respect boundaries and not treat me like an asset. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Years. Yes. If you actually want to rebuild this, it takes time. Real time. Therapy. Work. Proving you've changed through actions, not words. And if we do that, if we give you space and do the work, then maybe eventually we can try. But I make no promises. She nodded slowly. That's fair. More than fair. She stood. Thank you for seeing me. I'll tell your father what you said. We'll respect your boundaries. He walked to the door, then paused. For what it's worth, that billboard in Times Square. I stood there for 20 minutes after you left. Just staring at your face 50 feet tall, reading about your accomplishments. And all I could think was, how did I miss this? How did I have this extraordinary person in my home for 18 years and never see her? Because you weren't looking. I know. She wiped her eyes. I'm looking now. Even if it's too late. She left. I sat at the conference table for a long time after, looking out at the city. My phone buzzed. A text from my COO. The UN is requesting you speak at their economic summit in Geneva next month. Treasury Secretary also called. They want to expand the monitoring contract to include international markets. And Forbes wants to do a follow-up profile. The work continued. The success built on itself. The recognition kept growing. But for the first time in 20 years, my family had actually seen me. Not because I'd forced them to look, but because the world had put my face 50 feet tall in Times Square and made it impossible to ignore. Would they do the work? Would they respect boundaries? Would they prove that their change was real? I didn't know. But I'd done what I needed to do. Built something extraordinary. Proved that their dismissal had been their failure, not mine. Created a life so undeniable that even they couldn't pretend I didn't exist. That was enough. For now, that was more than enough. 6 months later, my phone buzzed during a board meeting. A text from Mom. No expectations, no pressure. Just wanted you to know, your father and I both started therapy. Individual and couples. We're working on understanding why we made the choices we did. Not asking for updates or meetings. Just wanted you to know we're doing the work. I read it twice. Didn't respond immediately. Another text from Gabrielle. I got a new job. Smaller firm, lower salary, but I'm building my own path instead of writing McKinsey's name. Scary but good. Thought you'd understand. No response needed. I put my phone away and returned to the board meeting. They were trying. Actually trying. It might take years. It might never fully heal. Some damage goes too deep. But they were trying. And that was a start.